Hello, beautiful people. We're talking about the last one in the Sun Overlay series to close it out. Finally, Sun in the 9th house. It's a good one. It's friendly and it's exciting. So let's get into it. Sun in the 9th, you meet this person while you're exercising your rights, exercising your freedom. This could mean like you meet this person when you're sneaking out the house, when you go to your first concert or festival alone. Maybe it's not your first concert alone, but that's when you meet them. On solo activities, solo travel, blind dates. It could also be after you've moved to a new city where you're kind of living independently for the first time. The house person sees the sun person as a role model and someone to look up to, someone that can be a mentor and a guide. And it's not necessarily that you see that person as above you or better than you, but more you can see that there's a lot to learn from them. And you see a lot of admirable qualities that you would want to cultivate for yourself. So very kind of similar to the 10th house, though the 10th house I feel like it's usually more in a professional setting, very business oriented. The 9th house is like relationship lessons, friendship lessons. 10th house is how you navigate the world. 9th house is how you navigate with the people of the world. But around the house person, the sun person has this inner revival, and it can be like a spiritual type of revival. But around the house person, the sun person basically goes from like this depressive, kind of pessimistic person to more optimistic. They're not so jaded anymore. And you guys have lots of deep talks about the universe and life after death. Maybe you guys are into, reincarnation. But the house person is expanding the sun person's perspective from black and white to color, to the spectrum. It's very much like The Climb by Miley Cyrus. You're just inspiring this spiritual awakening in each other. But usually it's like the sun person is kind of like already into that stuff and the house person's not so, like maybe they're into it but they never given it as much thought as the sun person has. Usually in this couple, both of you kind of want to be famous. Both of you want to be critically acclaimed for what you do. When you look at 10th house and 9th house synastry together, it's very fame and fortune focused as a couple. But 9th house fame is personal. It's looking at all the ways that it will upgrade their individual life. 10th house is looking at the impact that you're making on others. But you guys do spend a lot of time watching documentaries, either together or individually, on just other people that are a living example of who you're trying to become. It's the 9th house, so you guys already love the research. 3rd house is very, I want to read and gather information from a book. 9th house is like, I want to learn from people's experiences, word of mouth. So 9th house research can go into like Reddit. These people love Reddit. 3rd house is more like, you have to cite your sources. 9th house conversations are like, wow, that's what that person told you, that's crazy, that's so real. They only need to hear one anecdote about something to be like, well, that was that person's experience, so it's the truth. This is the couple, they believe aliens are real, and they are. They're out there. But they're conspiracy theorists, Maybe they're even watching like true crime stuff. Like, that's the stuff that gets them going. That's the stuff that brings them together. We talked about the 9th house being very sapiosexual. Like, these people are intellectually stimulated by each other. That's very much present in this overlay as well. With Sun in the 9th overlay, the humor, because the 9th house, we're talking about humor. The 3rd house, we're talking about humor. That axis is just very much conversations. How do we relate in our communication? So 9th house humor takes a while to kick in. The house person is usually the one that's a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more gullible, and the sun person is just this jokey stuff. They talk without thinking, but it's very harmless. What the house person learns from the sun person there is just how to make themselves the joke, have things not be that serious. Usually it does end up in a more positive way where you're just able to lighten up. And that helps you to just go through life a lot easier, especially as a couple. Mars in the 3rd house overlay has this aspect too, but I feel like with them, it's not usually a positive result. Usually the house person, that overlay as well, is like very sensitive to the Mars person's jokes, but it ends up in a fight. You guys don't solve it. You don't feel like lighter. You don't feel like you can make a joke out of yourself. You just feel like the other person's rude. You know that clip where Kourtney Kardashian is talking to Khloe? She's just like,
I just need to not make those jokes with you.
No, I don't think I think they're just like rude.
but to me it's a joke.
Yeah, very much that overlay. But yeah, as much as these people do like hearing first-hand accounts, they will still read books. But it's gonna be self-help books, it's gonna be the autobiographies, you know, it's that non-fiction. But they love any material that can help them to gain more self-awareness, anything for just positive mental health. At times, these two can very much act like each other's therapists, but not in a dumpy way. This couple, I feel like, has very good boundaries, and they're very able to hold space for one another while also just respecting themselves. And it does help that you guys very openly discuss like controversial topics, things that maybe people would shy away from, sex, other things that people would just find like mildly embarrassing. You know, when you have that just open communication, open dialogue, open honesty between each other, you can resolve a lot of things very quickly. You know, the ninth house, they're just trying to keep the good times rolling. But that's all. We're done with sun overlays. If you haven't seen the playlist, we have done sun, moon, Venus, and Mars. Get your crush's birth charts. Get your friends' birth charts. Check out those videos so you can learn more about your synastry together. We are gonna do ascendant overlays next. Note, for you to stay in ascendant overlay, you have to be using the whole sign house system, which is primarily what I use. And I think there's a lot more information that you can get there than most people think. So we'll see. I think you guys are gonna really like that. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that button. Okay? And I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye!